Welcome to the Brickyard.
NASCAR is heading to Indy.
Let's go kiss those bricks.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway, nothing finer in motorsports than this facility.
And the cars are back on the famed oval for the first time since 2020.
Put our best guy here. We'll fight hard. Have a go, man. Cheers, buddy.
Plus, we'll take a look back at some of the Brickyard's most iconic moments.
We obviously know what the hell you're doing out there. We'll just help keep you out of trouble.
And with Trucks and ARCA at IRP, more thrilling moments are sure to be made.
We just won Indy. Oh my God.
Whose time will it be on the biggest stage in racing?
So stick around, because Around the Track starts now.
Welcome to Around the Track, presented by Moultrie Mobile. I'm Kim Kuhn, alongside Pocono winner Ryan Flores. Congratulations on a great weekend at the Tricky Triangle.
Let's go. Yeah, it was a great weekend for the 12 team. My home track. So
Yeah.
it was cool, and I was there with Blaney when he got his first win 7 years ago in the Wood Brothers 99th, so it was really special to go back to victory lane.
Yeah,
there.
good weekend for Ford in general. Cole Custer getting the first win for Ford in the Xfinity Series this season and his first win this season. I know they were really relieved.
Yeah, the Stuart Haas guys look pumped up. You know, they got a lot going on over there, switching. Some of those guys will be sticking around to be at Haas CNC Racing, but yeah, a lot of exciting stuff was going on at Pocono. The action was hot and heavy. Big wrecks, as we always see.
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't on TV and it happened early in the day, there was rain, which seems to be the common theme this summer.
Yeah, we talked winners. On the flip side, you kind of mentioned some of those DNFs. Oh, Kyle Busch, another bad weekend for him. And then Ross Chastain, and he has now moved into the final spot in the playoff grid, so pressure's on. Yeah,
the pressure's on all those guys, Bubba Wallace included. He capitalized. He's only 20-some out, so it is getting the heat is getting hot in the kitchen there at the bottom of the playoff leaderboard.
Yeah, and we're going to get you ready for everything Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we head to Indiana.
Well, not only will the action be back at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval, but we'll be at IRP as well, and that gets us kicked off on Friday with the ARCA cars and the trucks, 5:30 and 8:30 p.m. A doubleheader for those guys, but two guys that have dominated the ARCA field this year, Connor Zilich and William Sawalich. Will this be another duel between those two?
I think so. They're evenly matched, and we've seen both of them kind of do part-time in NASCAR's National Series too, so you're going to want to keep an eye on those up-and-comers. But then as we look at the trucks, that battle for the playoffs, there's 2 races left until the playoffs kick off. You look at the cut line, Daniel Dye +1, Tanner Gray -1, and then Stuart Friesen is waiting to pounce too at -4. So there could be a big shakeup over the next 2 races.
Yeah, a lot on the line there. Connor Daly, also an Indy, one of the Indiana's own. He will be in the field. But when I think about truck racing, I think about Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. Can anybody beat these guys? I saw a stat this week where they have led 51% of all the laps in competition in the Craftsman trucks this year, so they are super strong. We'll see if anybody can top them at IRP.
Yeah, currently Christian Eckes holds the regular season points lead. And like we said, 2 races left until the playoffs kick off. We'll see how things shake out. But after all the action wraps up at IRP, it's over to the big track. That's right, both the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series have action this weekend back on the oval. We've got, of course, the Xfinity race on Saturday and then the Cup race on Sunday. You mentioned Connor Daly in a truck at IRP. He's also going to be on the Indy Oval running an Xfinity Series car.
Yeah, a couple other guys. The Eric Almirola will be back in action in that 20 car. Joe Graff Jr. will be driving for Gibbs as well, and Josh Berry will be in the AM Racing number 15.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I had talked to Rodney Childers this past weekend. He's his Cup Series crew chief, and he said, you know, they came to me and asked what I thought about Josh running that AM Racing entry, and he wasn't so certain how helpful it was going to be at Pocono, but he said, if you guys can guarantee me he's got a seat also at Indy, then I'm saying yes to it, because Josh has never seen the oval at Indy.
Yeah, well, and that 4-car led by Rodney Childers has had nothing but success at the oval there, so look for them to start full practice for the Xfinity car, so Josh will get a lot of opportunity. And you know what else Josh did? He's in this next video of ours, so we're going to hear the drivers have to say about IMS.
The oval at Indy is special. Anytime that you go to Indy, it's special. And you know, obviously going from the road courses back to the oval now, you know, the oval to me is very technical, very challenging, and I really enjoy it.
I think it's really prestigious. It's a prestigious race that I think we've lacked the last handful of years, and I know everybody's excited for it. So Indy's a special place, and it's going to be really fun to race there.
I feel like going to Indianapolis Motor Speedway means a lot to every single driver, but for me, growing up less than an hour away, it's even more special. So I couldn't think of another race I'd want to win more.
It's fun to go to Indianapolis. The history at that racetrack, I've been fortunate enough to race there, I think 3 times now in the Xfinity Series, and then it'll be a lot of fun in the Cup Series this year. Going back to the oval, the Brickyard, there's no better place in Indianapolis.
So it is an action-packed weekend at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, the Cup Series has practice Friday, qualifying Saturday, and then the race on Sunday. That practice is going to be key. First time, Ryan, we're going to see the next-gen cars on the big oval.
Yeah, this is the first time a lot of these drivers are going to be on the oval as well. And only 3 past winners. Jimmy Johnson's back in the field this weekend, Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys adapt to the oval at Indy.
Yeah, you mentioned drivers seeing the oval for the first time in the Cup car. 10 full-time Cup Series drivers have never raced there in a Cup car on the oval.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting to watch. It's going to open opportunity for a new winner, too, somebody new to kiss the bricks. But there's also a lot of racing going on outside of Indy this weekend, so let's take a look at what's on tap. NASCAR Canada will be in action Saturday at 5 p.m. The Duel to Dog Monadnock Speedway up in New Hampshire will host the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. And the second leg of the Virginia Triple Crown, the Hampton Heat. I heard Dale Jr.'s coming.
Yeah.
He's going to be there. A lot of notable drivers will be in the field for that one.
Speaking of notable drivers, Connor Hall, we'll see if he can take the second win in the Virginia Triple Crown after winning at South Boston. But Langley, it's his home track, and he had a lot to say about it. We caught up with him in studio a couple of weeks ago.
We're now joined in studio by Connor Hall. Connor, congratulations. You won the first leg of the Virginia Triple Crown at South Boston Speedway, but you had to do it from worst to first, started 23rd. How much did you and the team have to overcome?
Yeah, so I guess it was 31 positions, and luckily, when we had to deal with that flat tire, South Boston allowed us, to take a new tire and start in the back, and obviously there was only one way to go from there, and that was forward, so that was kind of inaudible per se.
And at the end, you were battling out with defending Triple Crown title holder Trevor Ward. Did that make the win that much more satisfying?
Yeah, so it was really cool. Trevor's, he's really revamped his program the past year. So obviously, he is the guy to beat as far as the Triple Crown goes. And mainly the cool thing was just to be able to pull off the win from the back was pretty epic.
All right, so leg 2 is Langley. That's your home track. You have a lot of success there. For drivers, what's the key to winning at Langley?
Yeah, so Langley's a little bit untraditional. It's really low grip, really sweeping. A lot of people usually struggle with being really loose there just because the grip losses throughout the run's pretty intense. So it's just going to be a game of tire attrition and just managing your equipment.
And then as you look ahead to Martinsville, it's kind of like further into the year. What are you going to have to be good there?
Yeah, so Martinsville is interesting. Number one, you got to keep the brakes on it. With the late model stock cars, we're probably a little bit under braked as far as our brake package. And the car is obviously heavy. We're getting more horsepower by the year. Tires will not be a factor. It's our only, I believe, concrete racetrack that we visit as the late models. Track position's big there, wrecks are big there, so kind of almost similar to South Boston as far as strategy. But obviously, the braking is just, like I said, you really get it really hot there.
All right, let's talk outside of the Triple Crown. The season in general, you've been fantastic. You're looking for your second NASCAR Weekly Series title. What would it mean to be able to do it again?
I think it would just be nice to put my name in the record book as a multi-time winner of that. I think one is, could be taken, maybe a lucky year or a fluke or whatnot. So I think to do it twice is kind of a statement that I am here to play and, be a serious contender no matter where I'm racing. So obviously it's not over. We're definitely counting down the days to the third week of September.
When we hear the name Connor Hall in 5 years, what do you want to be said about you? Where do you want to be in your racing career?
As much as I love late models, I would love to be, a little north of that, somewhere, trucks between Cup. But obviously it's a grind and it takes a lot of support. So we're going to keep doing our part and hopefully, in 5 years you'll see me up there.
Well, we appreciate the time, Connor. Good luck at Langley.
Thank you.
Well, as we look at Connor Hall's 2024 stats, they are pretty impressive. Yeah. I don't even know how anybody else has won a race this year. 17 wins in 21 races. And look he's the current points leader in the NASCAR Weekly Series, National. He's the points leader in the Cars Tour, and he leads the Virginia Triple Crown points. What has this guy not won?
I know. It was so fun to catch up with him, too. He's such an interesting personality, and like you mentioned, he's the points leader in the Weekly Series, looking for his second title there. But then in talking with him, he's looking ultimately to get to NASCAR's National Series, so I'm excited to see his trajectory.
Yeah, we've seen what guys have been able to do that come out of the Cars Tour this year. Dale Jr. has given him Carson Quapple an opportunity, Bubba Pollard. So hopefully he's the next guy in line, and I've been watching him, speaking of Carson Quapple, him Carson Quaffle, and Brent Cruz had some epic battles, almost 2 in a row. He really should have won Caraway in the Carswell race. I was watching that one closely. He came home second, but just great racing in the late model stocks in the Southeast right now.
Yeah, Langley's going to be a fun one this weekend. All right, after the break, I catch up with Erica to get her best bets for the weekend at Indiana.
I'm Steve Letarte. Join myself and Todd Gordon each week on NASCAR Inside the Race, presented by Consumer Cellular.
We will break down exactly how the race was won, plus we'll dive into the data and go in depth on penalties, race strategies, point standings, and rules changes.
And we have all kinds of fun tools to show off to provide all the minute details. Catch NASCAR Inside the Race each Tuesday on NASCAR's YouTube channel. Pocono winner Ryan Blaney was also part of the NASCAR Insiders Roundtable presented by Goodyear. Blaney, his dad Dave, as well as Harrison and Jeff Burton joined host Kyle Petty to talk about NASCAR's family history and what it's like for legacy drivers at NASCAR's highest level. Watch the NASCAR Insiders Roundtable presented by Goodyear on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
It's time now for Easy Money with E, so we'll welcome in Erica, our resident sports betting analyst, for the best bets of the weekend as we head to Indianapolis. First, though, Erica, great job last weekend. It feels like we are finally back on track with the bets.
Kim, we are 1,000% back on track. The list is actually too long to even just go through all of our best bets that hit, but we had 5. One of my favorite ones, though, that hit was fading Denny Hamlin as a favorite. And believe it or not, at some sports books, there is a market to fade a driver. And if you clicked on that option, then that was a 5th one that hit for you. So kudos to us and kudos to you guys for listening to my advice.
Well, I know fans are excited to put bets on this weekend because the cars are back on the big track, the Oval at Indy. Yep. So let's start. Let's dive right in. What are your head-to-head bets?
Okay, so the head-to-head bet that I'm going with this week is between Blaney and Keselowski. I'm going to go Blaney minus 110. Now, this is essentially a toss-up, Kim, because both drivers are minus 110. And I know that a lot of folks are there thinking, well, why are you going with Blaney? Because Keselowski is the driver who has a win at this track, not Blaney. But Ryan is the driver who currently has the hotter hand. He's coming off of that incredible win, of course, at Pocono. And also, this is a Penske track. So those are the reasons I'm going to back Blaney in this spot. Who would you take in this head-to-head, Kim?
I'm going to pick Blaney, too. He may or may not end up in my fantasy picks later in the show, so fans will have to wait and see. But I like the pick of Blaney, but honestly, either one, because if you look at the last 3 oval races at Indy, they were all won by Ford.
And you know what, Kim, I like that you brought that up because as I was looking at the different odds across various books, it was difficult to find some consistency with how odds makers are handicapping this race. And I would, think that is because this is the first time in 3 seasons that we've been back on the oval versus road course at Indy. So keep that in mind as well as you're placing your wagers for this weekend.
Yeah, great point there. All right, let's dive right into E's top picks on the weekend.
So we're going to go Denny Hamlin as a top 3 finisher. We're going to go Martin Truex Jr. as a top 10 finisher. We're also going to go Chris Buescher as a top 10 finisher. Let's go back to our boy Denny Hamlin at plus 140 to finish in the top 3. He's like my evergreen bet for all the reasons we talk about every week. So Denny Hamlin plus 140, top 3 finishers, kind of a no-brainer. But if you want a little bit better value, you can always go his outright winners odds at plus 450. Kim, I am going to back Martin Truex Jr. as a top 10 finisher at minus 175. I know a lot of people out there are not going to lay that kind of money on minus 175, and I get it. So for people who don't want to do that, there is a market for you. You can go plus 175 as a top 5 finisher. I feel more confident because Martin Truex Jr. has shown that top 10 spot is better for him at this track. And I think with his team being more aggressive, or I think they should be more aggressive as they're trying to get him a win before he retires from full-time driving, I think the top 10 finish at minus 175 is the safer bet. And then Chris Buescher, I want to hear your thoughts about Chris Buescher. Top 10, minus 160. This was a part of the season last year where he started getting super, super hot. He won 3 races toward the end of the season. And I know it was a little bit closer to the end of July, but past could be prologue. And I expect for him and his team to be very aggressive to try to get him a win before we head into the Olympic break. What you got to say about that as a top 10 finisher?
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I actually talked to the team in Pocono, and crew chief Scott Graves said, if we don't win in the next 2 races before that break, we are going to have so much stress. So they are really trying to amp it up this weekend. They've got 1 race to do it. Now, I don't know that they will be, an outright winner. We'll see, but I do expect them to have a really good performance as we head to Indy.
I'm glad that you mentioned Kim outright winners, because actually I do want to sprinkle a little bit of money on Chris Buescher as an outright winner at plus 2,000. Those odds are super long, but the payout would be just incredible. So definitely go there if you have a couple of bucks to spend.
Yeah, make some extra cash if it does in fact end up being Chris Buescher kissing the bricks this weekend. All right, Erica, great information. We'll catch up with you next week. And again, don't forget, later in the week, she'll have the bonus bets. And now that you know where to place your money, Ryan and I are going to tell you what to watch for after the break.
Hey race fans, Corey LaJoy here. Join Ryan Flores and myself for Stacking Pennies each week. I'll break down my race and explain what happened right out of my windshield.
Plus, we award the Dogs of the Week for the best pit crews and go in-depth on all the money stops, pit road mistakes, and penalties.
And we've got a ton of guests. We have SVG stopping by. We had Ricky Stenhouse after he punched Kyle Busch in the face. We've had Bubba. We've had all sorts of guys in here in the Nonsense Garage, so you do not want to miss it. Check us out on Sirius XM Channel 90, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts. Each and every week, Stacking Pennies is what's up.
There's nowhere else anyone who competes here wants to be than Victory Lane.
Pretty cool place to race, even cooler place to win.
It's the #1 goal that I've ever had in my life, is winning a race there once I started racing.
I guess when it's meant to be, it's just meant to be.
I wanted this trophy over here with this brick on it. It's probably the biggest win of my career so far.
This is your house, KB.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Brad Keselowski, they touch again.
The Brickyard 400 for Keselowski.
I feel like I'm in a dream from when I was 10 years old.
The history just oozes out of that place. As soon as you pull in there, you feel a part of it.
It's all about winning that race. You want to kiss the bricks.
Everyone excited to get back to the big oval at Indy. It is a crown jewel of the sport and possibly a new winner. Like you mentioned earlier, only 3 past winners in the field, but they're going to get through a lot of challenges if they want to kiss the bricks, pit road being one of them.
This is a very challenging place, like you said. It's the most narrow pit road, only 24 feet wide, and the pit boxes are the second most narrow we go to at 15 feet wide. But they are by far the longest pit box we go to at 45 feet long, so the car can park anywhere.
Yeah.
Strategy is going to be super important, and the reason that the length of the pit stalls is important is because it's going to be a fuel mileage. This has potential. We don't know yet. But it has potential to be a fuel mileage race like Pocono was. So with a long pit stall like that, it makes it really challenging on the gas man because it's super important where the driver stops. When there's 45 feet instead of 24 feet, there's quite a bit more distance. Now, they usually do a good job, but just a little bit when we're talking about fuel mileage races and how quickly these guys exchange cans, and that being the difference between winning the race and losing the race, it adds a big variable.
So what we see, because typically, like at Pocono, I was watching the fueler, he would take like 2 steps as the car would launch out of the box. Are we looking for him to engage even more as the box moves out?
Well, the car's closer to you as well, so not only will you be a little bit bound up on the wall, you'll also be having to chase your car if he doesn't stop on the exact mark. Since there's more room to miss. But it's also a pretty dangerous pit road. We've seen him knock the speed limit down 10 mile an hour now that we're going back. This is a place where my fellow tire changer on the 12 car got hit years ago. A couple, what was it, 2020 or 2020? The last time we came here, he got hit and broke his leg. We saw that scuttlebutt on the end of pit road. So trying to go get some redemption for Zach Price, and we'll try to get us a ring, too. This is one that we've had, as a team, we've had circled all year.
Yeah, a lot of people have it circled, not just because it's Indy, because we only have 5 races left until the playoffs start. Only 1 race before the Olympic break, and everybody wants to end on a high note before they take that 2-week break. Because, man, if you're outside the playoffs or you're on the bubble before we take 2 weeks off, it's not going to be fun.
No, you don't want to be on the outside looking in, and that's something that we really have talked about internally is like we need to have a good stretch of races before we go on this break so we can come back and buckle down and be playoff ready.
Yeah, we mentioned those 5 races, Indy one of them, all 5 of those tracks very different, so it'll be exciting to see what happens this weekend. And up next, Ryan and I, we're going to help you, at least try to help you, set your fantasy lineup for the Cup cars back at the Indy Oval.
So who is your best value pick for your fantasy league?
I've got my guy.
Yeah, we took a gamble this weekend.
Luck or the lack thereof.
It's a big factor here today.
Listen to me out there, gamblers.
Intrigue, baby.
It is time to set our fantasy lineups for Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So we're going to start with must-haves.
My must-have is one of the only guys in the field that has won a race, Brad Keselowski.
Okay.
Because he's got experience here.
Yep.
He's clutching big moments, but he also had speed at Pocono.
Okay.
So I think if they can get on the right side of the strategy, this is a guy that you should have in your lineup.
I'm picking Kyle Larson, and that's for a couple of reasons. Hendrick Motorsports, the most wins of any team at Indy. Then you look at Chevrolet, they've won 17 of 27 races on the oval there. And then I feel like Kyle Larson wants a little bit of redemption after the Indy 500.
Yeah, he's the only guy that's got, race laps
around
this
on
place
the oval.
in the field this year. And, to add to Kyle Larson, sprint car, midget guys, they love Indiana. He spent a lot of time in Indiana racing, so to go to IMS is a big deal.
Yeah.
Who's in your garage?
My garage. I don't know if you're going to like this or agree with it, but I'm putting you guys. I'm putting Ryan Blaney in my garage for a couple of reasons. I didn't want to put him outright as my must-have and jinx him, but I do think you mentioned speed at Pocono could translate to speed at Indy. You guys won at Pocono, and then just looking back at the last 3 races on the oval, they were all won by Ford. So I think both Ryans, Ryan Flores and Ryan Blaney, will be kissing the bricks possibly this weekend.
That's the plan. I hate that he's in your garage because I think he should be in your lineup. I didn't want to pick him as my outright because I didn't want to jinx it as well, but I do think this is a weekend that we've had circled and one that he wants some redemption at. Talking to him today, we had some troubles there in an Xfinity race years ago. We got flipped on strategy by Kevin Harvick when we feel like we should have won a cup race. So we are going back to the oval looking for redemption, and Roger owns the place. But another guy that's looking to go there and be great under the Penske organization is Joey Logano. The reason I picked Joey Logano this week and to keep in my garage is him and Paul Wolfe. 50 minutes of practice. They're going back to a track that's kind of new for everybody with the next-gen car. This is a place where they can capitalize, and I see that 22 being a contender late in the race.
All right, should be fun to see who comes out on top. But I'll tell you one thing, the fans are the ones that are going to win regardless of who ends up in victory lane at Indy because there is so much for them to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun things. Starts with a hauler parade on Thursday. They rename all of the streets.
They do. It's very cool.
Downtown Indy with all the drivers' names, so that could make it a little bit challenging for your Uber driver.
Yeah. Where are we going?
Yeah, and both Friday practice sessions are free to the public.
That's awesome. Also, we're talking Thursday. Bottleworks District is having a little fan fest down there. That district is so cool. Very young, very vibrant. There's a food hall, kind of like a gaming place too. So if fans are there early, that's a great place to kick things off.
Yeah, and if you want to see what else Indy has to offer, you can go to IndianapolisMotorSpeedway.com for a full list of their events.
All right, it is time for the white flag, and I have come prepared with some trivia that I think is pretty easy.
Okay.
So it is the 30th anniversary of the first Brickyard 400. This is kind of a 2-part trivia. Who was the winner of the first Brickyard 400?
Of the pole or the race?
The race. You know both.
Jeff Gordon. Oh, yeah, Rick Mass won the pole.
Okay, look at you. So I figured you would know that. So let's add a second question. Jeff Gordon is the winningest driver at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the Brickyard 400. How many Brickyard wins does he have?
4?
Oh.
How many?
Close. He has 5.
5. Oh,
I was there in
goodness.
Victory Lane for the last one in 2014.
Yeah, that was one of the really cool, iconic moments was when Tony ran his last race there and Jeff was filling in for Dale Jr. and they drove around the track together. But yes, like I said, the sprint car midget guys, Indiana is a big deal to them, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway is huge.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely exciting weekend from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're excited to get there, and we're excited to see you guys next week. Yes, the National Series is taking a break for the Olympics, but we aren't, so we'll see you right back here at Around the Track.
Yeah, make sure you tune in to hear about all the racing going on around the country.